hope that you can hear me, because if you can't, it will be really sad, because it's going to be a really long recording and I'll have to do it all over again. But anyway, I thought that what I'm going to do is I will do a quick, I would say, tutorial on how I worked on the latest post and show you guys some of the suggestions of how I work. So maybe you can take some tips and put it in your work as well. So as you guys might have seen already on Instagram, this is the latest post that I worked on. Now, before I talk about the design of this post, I want to first talk about the idea behind the post as well. So I had a very basic idea behind what I wanted to do, and I did not have any of this information that I actually created. I sort of just focused on the basic idea, which I came up with while having a conversation with a friend, and then I just went with the flow and I started designing. So it started with like a very simple idea that therapy is for everyone, and there are a lot of myths about therapy in general. And then I started googling about it, right? So I found articles like therapy is for everyone. I found all of these articles that I literally just opened in new tabs, and here is where I started getting all the content from my post as well. So if you guys will realize that all of these posts are exactly the one that I have used in the content as well. Like for example, the content from this one was used directly as a subtitle in one of the slides. Now, similarly, I found a lot of other articles when I kept Googling a specific topic, and I found all of these different resources to actually find the kind of content I want to use in the post. Now, I started framing it one by one. I read them, I understood what the topic is about, and I created a narrative in my head of how I want the flow of this post to be. So it was for first proving my point. There's a lot of stigma around therapy and people need to know about it. So I first talked about the stigmas and misconceptions. Then I moved a little bit towards the solution part of it. Like for example, I talked about what you can do if you think that therapy is too expensive for you, or what are the signs that you might need therapy. Again, I took all of this from different parts of the internet. I did not copy any single source, but I did use a lot of different sources, and at the end of it I also kind of mention the sources that I'm using. So this was the content for it. I literally kept designing it one by one, and I did not really use like a separate, like I did not use a separate I would say document to first do copywriting and then do design. I did it all at the same time. So let me try and show you how the design went, if I can show it from a particular version. I don't know how from where I can show it to you guys, but okay. Never mind. I'll just show you guys how I went about it. So the first thing that I did was I worked on the gradient for the post. So I will first hide all the other elements to show how I worked on the gradient. Okay, so here is the gradient. Now if you will realize, these gradient layers are divided into three different sections. The first is the main gradient itself. So what I did with this one is I just picked any random gradient color that I really felt would be nice with the feed, the colors that we're following in the feed right now, and I just created the color for that layer. So this was the color I chose, and then I just decreased the opacity of the layer to make it super light, because I didn't want it to be so heavy on the eyes. So I just created a subtle effect. Now the other thing I wanted to do was I wanted to add some other color elements as well, which I really liked in a lot of other designs. Now I didn't know myself how to do it, so all I did was I YouTubed it, and I found a very simple tutorial on YouTube on how to do it. And I basically learned how to do it myself from this tutorial. So this is what I was going for. I was going for something similar like this, and so I created a new layer using this new layer button on the bottom right, which has the little plus sign, and then I created a new layer, and then using the brush tool I just created all these different color layers. So if I want to create, let's say, a blue color, I can just do this and it will create a blue color layer for me. So this was the very simple way of how I created these color effects that kind of seem blurry because this is the brush setting that I've used. It has 0% hardness, and that's what creates this effect. And then I reduced the colors as per what I need, and I created two separate layers because it was getting really wide for me to work on. So these two layers are for the color spots. And then I added a kind of a forgot how to say it, but it's basically the effect for the grainy noise effect that I created. So for that I just created a new layer, and in that I added a new show how to do it. Added a new mask, and in that vector mask on the bottom right you can see add vector mask. I added a new grainy effect by going to noise and add noise, and then you can obviously play around with how much noise you want to create in this creative. And if you go super high, then you can see the changes in the grainy effect that is there. So this is how I created the grainy effect. And then obviously all the text, we I used the fonts that were already being used in the previous posts, and obviously our main font, which is Lado. And apart from that, the chat theme, which is basically used for most of our posts. So how did I create this sort of gradient effect? Is what I did was I created this all these chat elements, and then I grouped them into a single post. So how did I do that? I'm gonna show it to you guys. I created all these elements together, and then I converted them into a smart object. So how to do that? You simply right click and convert into smart object. Then I added a new mask, and in that mask, the layer mask, I added a gradient. So if we go to the gradient tool and you will go to this option on the top left, which is radial gradient, I just did that, and it basically creates a radial gradient. So I just worked around the opacity to create this kind of effect, as simple as that. And then the rest of it was just basic font. So the things that you should remember is the alignment needs to be consistent, left alignment in this case, and highlighting the main words which you feel are important in different fonts or maybe a different thickness. Or you can also use colors to create more emphasis on specific words. The last thing I want to show you guys is how I worked on these things that I picked up basically from the internet itself. So I'll give you an example. Let me show you my downloads. So all I did was I googled different illustrations. Like I literally googled them. I'll show you what I searched: mental wellness sketch illustrations, and I found all of them. And then I just downloaded them, and all you have to do is put them on Photoshop like this. Here it is, and then go to your layer panel, and from normal change it to darken. And what that will do is it will delete all the white color from your image, and it will only have the black color. Now this effect works only for black and white sketches which are completely white on black. If it's any other color, it will not work like this. So it works really well for these kind of designs. So I basically downloaded a bunch of different illustrations which I really liked, and all I did was I just converted them into this effect of darken. If you look at the original one, it's normal, is like this one, but the darkened effect looks like this. So this is how the design was made. If I talk about the dimension of the post really quickly as well, you will see that it's 1500 by 15,000. So there are like 10 different squares that we have on this post, and then each square is of 1500 by 1500 pixels. So the width will be 1500 into 10 for a 10 post grid, which will be 1500 into 15,000 as the width. I hope that makes sense. It's all in pixels. And then how do I export this layer without having to like export them individually? All I do is I go to view, I create a new guide layout, and I create 10 number of divisions without any gutter. So make sure that gutter is 0, and I create 10 different bifurcations. Or if it's like, let's say a 9 post, then it will be 9. If it's like 5 squares, it will be 5. So it depends on how many squares you want to divide it in. So in my case it was 10, so I divided into 10 equal parts. And then all I did was go to this option on your toolbar, and then go to slice tool, and then there's this option called slices from guide. Now when you click slices from guide, all it will do is it will slice your post on the basis of all the guides that you have created. So as you can see over here, this blue color thingy over here on the upper side of your post, you will see that um, all these segregations are made on the basis of the um, guides that I created. Now exporting it is a very simple process. You just go to export for web, so save for web, and then all you have to do is choose PNG, because you want to export in high quality, and PNG usually is the best quality that you can export it in. And then again, you can see the quality of post if you want to increase it, or whatever quality you want to keep it in. Now you don't have to necessarily work with these settings. All you have to do is just change the dimensions, sorry, change the type of your image to PNG, and then all you have to do is export it. So that should do the job. Click save, and I will show you an option. So I'll show you guys, like I create this thing called demo, and I'll save it, and in less than 15 seconds all of your, okay, it just took me 5 seconds. I'm going to go to desktop now, and I'm going to show you these images I've created, and you can see all of those posts were very easily converted into segregations. You don't even have to like export them one by one, and it creates this really cool gradient effect in your carousels, these continuous effects in carousels. So I hope this tutorial helped, and you guys can take something away from this in your own designs as well. Thank you.